So if you have a 2014 and up Lexus IS, this might be helpful for you guys, especially like say you a lot of time with like why your gas door is not flushed with the quarter panel, and you might be asking, should I take it to the dealership or so? But could be an easy fix for you guys as well. This was an easy fix for me. So this plastic core thing that holds the cap for the gas, this is actually the issue. So pretty much I put it back, you know, the way it was, where my gas door was not really pretty much flush. So how I figured it out was pretty much it's just this one right here, and if you like flip it down like that, kind of like vertical down, this little cord has to go like more like inside. As it closes, you'll see it as I close it slowly. So rather than this cord going up like this, that's gonna cause the door to kind of stick out more. So the proper way is actually to have this thing like kind of like slide up as you're closing the door. So you can see it slides up by itself. So as you're closing it, the door's more flush.
Perfect.
So that's a little gimmick I found out with this car. Kind of weird. So it's not really like a, I guess, recall or whatsoever. Just an easy fix. Car's not looking so bad. So I pretty much just put that random Sport badge. Probably gonna remove it, put another one actually just right after I rewrap this car again. But wondering how this car would look like, especially if it's paint matched with the white. I mean, I think it'll look cool, but doesn't matter right now. But as you can see down through the hood of the vents, you can see the strut bar. It's like yellow down there. Pretty cool. For the back part, I actually plan on repainting my exhaust tip. So that is currently like a satin black color. I did actually remove that one, but I had to actually use a paint remover, but we didn't have enough time at the shop, so we pretty much postponed this whole process for the next week. So that should be coming up soon with the whole video. But as you can see, I don't have no Lexus emblem for my trunk. That is gone. Not until I rewrap the whole car again. So same thing as my spoiler. That is gone. Took it off. No aftermarket parts pretty much for this car. Like I parted out. Pretty bad. But yep, still need to repaint those calipers. They are really dirty yellow, so does not look good in my opinion. Needs to be repainted for sure. I did actually buy some powder coat for it, so that should be coming up next week or so on the delivery. So I plan to actually remove my whole brake system and powder coat them the same color actually, which is yellow, and put it in the kitchen oven. So that'll be a long process, probably a few parts of the video as well. So yeah. In the meantime, I plan to use the aircraft paint remover, so I'm just pretty much going to remove the paint from the exhaust tip, put the remainder right there, and I'll have to pretty much fill in the gaps between these exhaust tips, which is, you can kind of see like a few leftover satin black between the exhaust tips. That is hard to get, so the only way really is to sand it down pretty good and use some aircraft. That's going to be helpful for the exhaust tip. So I'll pretty much just use the board, grab cardboard, just gonna use the brush, paint the tips, and I'm just gonna let it sit there for like possibly 45 minutes or so and see how the outcome is. Jeez, this thing really stinks pretty bad, so I recommend you guys not smelling it pretty close, but hopefully this does some magic and removes this paint out of my exhaust tips. Bruh, this thing is disgusting to smell. You guys should not smell this at all. But it seems to be working, so as I'm like kind of like brushing it pretty hard, you can kind of see already like the original color of the exhaust tip, so that's a good thing. Bad thing, do not smell this. And the cardboard on the side and the brush is really helpful. So if you guys ever need this, definitely use a brush, but definitely use some gloves. I'm not using some gloves just because I'm not being smart. So just gotta stick this thing in the middle where I missed. So the game over is pretty much applied to the exhaust tips, so I'm just gonna let it sit there for the next hour or so. So one thing I've been aching to do is pretty much have this like a Alcantara material rather than a carbon fiber, I guess. So I did actually customize the center. I put some Alcantara material in the center as well. Did the carbon fiber and Alcantara match with the knob, and got the carbon fiber steering wheel as well. So I do have some extra Alcantara right here, same color as this. So I think it'll look pretty dope having this Alcantara as well. So I don't know, just feel like removing it right now and just work on it. I do have this like a red Alcantara. Voila, easy like that. Pop it. And just gotta disconnect this. I think definitely on the corners I'll have to be careful if I want to wrap it Alcantara. I know with like a vinyl wrap it'll be a lot more easier because vinyl is a lot more flexible, and with the Alcantara or suede material it's a little different, so it's not as flexible as how the wrap would be. So definitely has quite a amount of corners and not really anywhere to tuck in, because I thought this was like a two-piece where there'd be like screws around here, but I guess we'll find out how I'm gonna be doing this. So yeah, right over here, just gonna have to take out this part right here so I can have access to the middle part right here. So it should be a lot more easier to tuck in rather than trying to cut around it. Just something I thought. So it's just really just tabs holding this together, and you got to remove this in order to take this piece apart. So this is just the buttons for the windows, and I'm just gonna use a random pen. So again, this is a tab, pops right out easily, not hard. So now I have a lot more, I guess, freedom to pretty much wrap around the inside of this piece. And right over here, whoops, so right over here I do have the roll, which is the Alcantara. So I believe this is the face up, so pretty much this is what it's gonna look like once it's applied to the trim. And as you can see, this is the bottom part, so kind of see the difference right here with the face up, here with the bottom. So always be careful, you don't want to have the bottom part, you know, be the top piece. That'll be just useless because you're basically hiding the Alcantara. I'm gonna be using the 3M headliner, which is, you can find this at any auto band store or auto parts, whatever. But this is a really good product if you're gonna use like fabric material. So again, this is a good fabric adhesive tape, 3M tape, and it'll stick pretty hard on it. So really reliable. I like using this a lot. I've used already on my center console, and same thing with the red Alcantara door trim on my doors. actually much more easier to remove. It's just screws and the tabs holding it. So really, you don't have to separate anything from here, and I wouldn't really touch this since this pretty much controls all your windows. So just leave this to the side, and we are just gonna focus on this. This again should be, I believe, a lot more easier, much more similar, just because the way it's gonna tuck in through here. So yeah, so let's go ahead and proceed. Driver's side trim piece is actually completed. This was actually a lot more quicker. The first one actually took about, I guess, quite the same time. So I do like the outcome of it. Just looks more stunning with the Alcantara material. Alright guys, so I did have to pause the video a bit just because I was having trouble like getting it through around the corners. It was actually pushing out the Alcantara up, like I mentioned. This is just dirt, can be removed, but yeah. Anyways, yeah, looks good. It's from the bottom, but like I said, what matters is how the outside looks like. But corners are tucked in nicely, and it's good to install it back to the car. Just looks a lot more better.
Perfect.
So more cleaner, subtle, and just the feeling of the Alcantara is just something else. You know, I don't know how to describe it really, but definitely gives it a nice look.